Greetings, old friends. Greetings, new friends. Greeting, pilgrims. My name is Andy Andrews. I have the privilege to be the rector, the priest in charge at Church of the Holy Trinity in downtown Vicksburg. Vicksburg is an historic, consecrated place, 200 years old, perched on top of a bluff overlooking the Mississippi River. And Church of the Holy Trinity, established September 1869, has influenced its character and its grit. Today, it's an active parish filled with enlightened people, dozens of ministries, spiritual transcendence, music that is incredible, and also our space, our worship space, the nave. We hope this tour may be the beginning steps of your visit here. May the light of Christ always guide us.
Hello there, and welcome to Church of the Holy Trinity in Vicksburg, Mississippi. My name is Karen Moore, and I am a parish member here at Holy Trinity. I'm also a member of the Docents Ministry. As docents, we welcome visitors and share with them not only our love for this community, but also its rich history and stories of the lives of those who came before us. To place Church of the Holy Trinity in some historical context, one might say that in many regards, it rose from the ashes of the Civil War. I'm currently standing on South Street, so named because for many years it marked the southernmost boundary of the city. During Reconstruction, Vicksburg was growing rapidly south of this area along its busy riverbank, which was not even a half mile to the west of where I stand. It was in 1869, just 5 years after the end of the Civil War, that 60 members of Christ Church, the city's first Episcopal parish, were granted permission to build a second Episcopal church in this, the rapidly developing southern part of town. Within 8 weeks of having been granted permission, a temporary simple wooden chapel was erected, and not even a year later, the cornerstone for the church was laid. As you can see from what they built, our church founders had a grand vision. In no way could they have anticipated that it would take more than 10 years for their dreams of a permanent building to be realized. First, there were the financial realities and limitations of Reconstruction. Then, in 1876, the Mississippi River changed its course, leaving the city without its riverfront. And finally, in 1878, more than 1,000 people died in the worst yellow fever epidemic in Vicksburg's history. Eventually, however, because of the remarkable generosity of Holy Trinity's members as well as of the community, work was completed and the first service was held in the church on Easter Sunday, 1880. It was a glorious celebration, but one that also prompted reflection on loved ones lost since the founding a decade earlier. In 1978, the church was entered into the National Register of Historic Places in recognition of its architectural significance and historic character. This space is the narthex, or entry area. It is in the base of the tower that rises 190 feet above us and serves as a beacon to those seeking refuge, comfort, and insight. You also see 4 memorial stained glass windows portraying the gospel writers, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. This rope is the pull for our bell. It is actually a favorite destination of our children after the close of Sunday services. They run back here and clamber up the rope to ring it, signaling that church is out. Here we are in the nave. It seats over 400 people and is to this day the largest worship space in the Episcopal Diocese of Mississippi. Note the dark wood throughout. These are the original pews, made of locally sourced pine, oak, and walnut. The extensive wainscoting throughout the church is made of pine, and the ceiling is heavily stained southern yellow pine designed symbolically to represent the keel of Noah's Ark. Another wood was added just 3 years ago with the memorial gift of these hand-carved Italian wood Stations of the Cross. The church's interior is visually dominated by 28 remarkable memorial windows installed over the course of half a century. Behind me here in the west wall are the first memorial windows placed in the church prior to its first service. These windows are especially noteworthy for the concept behind them and the way in which they continue to speak to us today. Collectively, these 5 windows are known as the Reconciliation Windows, and they were the idea of our first rector, the Reverend William Wilberforce Lord. The dedication banner at the top reads, "To the dead who fell in battle at Vicksburg in the years 1862 and 1863." And they memorialize the nearly 2,000 soldiers and sailors, both Union and Confederate, who were killed here in the campaign and siege at Vicksburg. Historians have said this is one of the first instances in which both Confederate and Union troops were memorialized together in a public space. We here at Church of the Holy Trinity hold fast to the spirit of reconciliation. Reconciliation in all its forms is timeless. It was important to the people of the community in 1880, and this same spirit of reconciliation is certainly no less important, perhaps even more important to us here today. The balance of the windows in the church were selected and purchased by the parish or by family members wishing to memorialize a loved one. As you can see, they are all beautiful, and I can assure you, each one has a story to tell and is steeped in meaning. Holy Trinity is fortunate to be home to 6 of the 11 Tiffany windows in the state of Mississippi. These windows exemplify the style that became synonymous with the New York studios of Louis Comfort Tiffany. Here, it is a wonderful opportunity to be able to look at a Tiffany window alongside a traditional stained glass window. In this way, it becomes easier to understand the technical innovations that make a Tiffany window so special. The primary difference between a Tiffany window and a traditional stained glass window is the fact that the color in a Tiffany window is literally in the glass, as opposed to painted on top of the glass, which is the case in a traditional stained glass window. Tiffany, with the help of chemists, discovered that by adding different metals and metal oxides to that hot molten glass, the glass would be infused with different colors. He was able to produce glass with hues of varying shades, and of course, his famed opalescent glass. Tiffany has also largely been credited with the copper foil technique of piecing together a window. Notice the lilies painted on the traditional stained glass window, whereas in the Tiffany window, each petal, leaf, and stem is its own individually selected piece of glass. This window, Hope, presents a wonderful example of one more innovation Tiffany used to great effect. The window is not smooth to the touch, as would be the case with a traditional stained glass window. Look at this drapery glass in Hope's gown. The manner in which Tiffany's glassmakers manipulated the hot molten glass as it cooled created depth and texture within and on the surface of the glass. We have looked at 2 of the Tiffany windows. The third is right here, the Archangel Raphael. And over here we have music, peace, and the first Tiffany window installed here at Holy Trinity. I am the way, the truth, and the life. Besides the reconciliation windows, the only other windows that were actually in the church at that very first service were these in the east wall behind the altar. And their story is most poignant. The 3 windows, He who Jesus loved, The Lord hath come, and St. Luke, memorialize 5 founders of our church, Mr. and Mrs. Flowery, Mr. and Mrs. Fairchild, and Dr. Whitehead. Within the 2 years prior to the completion of the church, all 5 of these founders died. 2 of them, William Fairchild and Dr. Whitehead, actually died in the yellow fever epidemic I mentioned earlier. Of these 3 founding families, only Dr. Whitehead's widow Irene survived to see the church completed. The others, however, were very much present at that first service, at least in spirit, thanks to these windows. Finally, this is the baptistry, a focal point of our worship. The rails and the beautiful Italian marble baptismal font were given in memory of Dr. Whitehead by his wife Irene. Here in the baptistry, generations past and present have been welcomed into the household of God. And in this way are linked with the Whiteheads and all those who throughout the years have worshiped here at Church of the Holy Trinity.
Thank you for joining us virtually. We hope and pray this leads you into our physical presence. Remember, the doors of Church of the Holy Trinity have always swung wide open on hospitality, a deeper understanding, grace, forgiveness, mercy, justice, and a new creation. Thank you for supporting this faith community. It depends on enlightened people like you to hold it up. I bless you now and forever.